If you like historical documentaries, I'd like to recommend a movie called Red Penguins to you. Now, on the surface, it's a movie about the owners of the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team entering into a partnership with the former Russian Red Army team around the time that the Soviet Union ended. And I know how much my audience loves sports. But more so, it's a documentary about how citizens handled the transition when the Soviet Union ended. This is going to sound pretty fucked up, but when you've never really known freedom, it's scary as hell. People don't know what to do with it. It's like a man dying of starvation. You can't just walk them into a McDonald's and let them gorge themselves. I mean, healthy people shouldn't really do that either, but a person who's dying of starvation, despite their mind probably telling them, eat as much as you can, as fast as you can, the body is not ready. And you can actually do more damage by just jamming food into yourself. It's called refeeding syndrome. And in Russia, after the fall of the Soviet Union, freedom was the same way. The power vacuum left by total government control led to organized crime. Petty theft was up as people who couldn't afford things under this new system took them from the people who could. Basically, Russia was a man starved of freedom, stuffing his face with it the first chance they got, and then projectile shitting it back up almost immediately. And today, Russia is still behind the US in many ways when it comes to dealing with freedom. Why, it seems they've just now finally discovered frivolous lawsuits and not taking personal responsibility. So, a woman by the name of Ksenia Ovchinnikova, I'm sure I've botched that worse than a Russian steroid scandal, is suing McDonald's because they forced her to break her promise for Lent. During Lent, traditionally, you give something up for 40 days leading up to Easter. And for the last 16 years during this period, Ksenia has given up eating animal products of any kind. But that all came to an end when she was taking a stroll through Omsk and saw a McDonald's advertisement for burgers and chicken McNuggets. Well, this was the last temptation. As though she became possessed, she walked into the nearest McDonald's, ate a cheeseburger, and then regretted it. She says that McDonald's and others shouldn't be allowed to advertise during Lent while Christians are attempting to abstain. Isn't that the whole point? It's that you are resisting the temptations of the world. The idea is that it's supposed to be hard. The premise behind Lent is to replicate the sacrifice of Jesus Christ's journey into the desert for 40 days. Now, I'm no Bible expert, but Wikipedia tells me that during those 40 days in the desert, Satan appeared to Jesus to tempt him, and each time he did, Jesus refused these temptations. Satan didn't go, "Ah, shit, sorry, Jesus, you're doing a thing here. Well, I don't want to make this any harder for you than it already is, so I'll just get out of your hair. Hey, maybe after you're done, we'll hit up the old McDicks. Big Mac's on me, huh?" So think of McDonald's as your own personal Satan, as I'm sure many do quite often, and resist those temptations. But you didn't. You gave in to them. And that's fine. No judgment from me, because quite frankly, I don't believe in any of that. Denying yourself a cheeseburger for a month and change every year isn't changing where you go when you die. But don't blame McDonald's because you can't take responsibility for your own actions. Even the Russian church suggested that she go to confession instead of the court. Now, whenever you think McDonald's and lawsuit, you immediately think about the hot coffee incident from the 90s. All the jokes about how some idiot, some total moron, spilled coffee on themselves and then sued for millions. That lady was the butt of late-night talk show jokes for like a year. But if you look that case up, the coffee actually was way too hot. She had third-degree burns and required skin grafts after she spilled coffee on her pants. Anyway, she won $640,000 after the dust settled. Our Russian friend here isn't quite looking for the same amount of money. She wants 1,000 rubles, about $13 US. Again, this is how far behind they are with their frivolous lawsuits. In America, someone would sue for $5 million for this. She says it insulted her religious feelings, that she was effectively forced into breaking her faith. And that's only worth $13 to her? I think if I were Jesus, that would hurt my feelings. Your replication of my sacrifices is only worth $13 to you? Why, my child, that will barely buy you a delicious juicy quarter pounder with cheese, irresistibly salty fries, and an ice-cold Coca-Cola to wash it all down with. You won't have enough left over to even make a meaningful contribution to the collection plate this Sunday. Come on, I died for your sins. At least make them worth dying for.